Hey, what's up? David with Brazos Barbell. Today I'm releasing my free intermediate strength program for free for everybody. So if you haven't filled out the request yet, I have the link down in the description below, so go ahead and do that. But this video is going to be talking about the expectations that you should have going into it, my goals with what everyone should get out of it, and really just how to run the programming and kind of what we're looking at in some of my we'll say vernacular when I'm writing the programming. So when we're looking at it, you'll see that there is going to be a lot of variations. There's going to be RPEs and percentages and things like that written. So I'm trying to do my best to make sure that everybody gets the most out of the essence of the program and not necessarily what it's exactly on paper. So when you get your program, you can see that every video or every maybe variation has hyperlinks attached to it. So you should be able to click on those, and then it'll take you to a video of how to perform the exercise well. Sometimes in the comments of each day, I have some notes written to give you expectations on what you're trying to get out of those workouts, and maybe where to push hard and where not to. But overall, we're really just going to be referring to the percentages and the RPEs when we're looking at those. So the first 4 weeks have more variations. The second 4 weeks is where we're leading up to those 3-rep maxes on squat and bench press, and the 2-rep max on deadlift. Now, when we're talking about that, I'm calling this an intermediate strength program. Just from the demographics that I had sign up for the programming, most of the most of the responses I received said that they were in between 1 and 3 years of lifting and have done less than 3 competitions. There's a fear of mine that I think this program potentially is a little bit too advanced for that group. Also, this program is written as a strength program, and it's not a building program, and it's not necessarily written specifically for any individual. But I tried to make a program that I thought would work well based on the successes of a lot of my other lifters, and that I think everybody will enjoy and get a whole lot out of. So when we're going into this program, when you're going into this program looking for your expectations, we have to understand that you're probably jumping into something that could potentially be very hard and a little bit more advanced in some ways than things that you have been doing. So when we're talking about moving into 3-rep maxes and 2-rep maxes on competition lifts, those are things that you have to have a pretty high level of skill so that you can actually get the most out of those. So in the programming, what I've tried to do is with the first 4 weeks, work on control and tempo and making sure that everyone is executing those exercises to the best of their abilities and in ways that will actually lead to them being able to execute the 3-rep max as well. So I'm planning on making a video about RPE. I'm planning on making a video about why I like variations to be the heavier lifts in a program, and then the non-variations like just competition squats or regular standard squats with no pauses. I like those for volume work more so. Those videos will be coming out shortly so that you can understand what's happening with the programming. But in this case, just know the first 4 weeks are about you making sure that you're doing all these exercises well, and then the second 4 weeks is when we're looking into being a little bit more aggressive. So when you're looking at the programming, you'll see that I use both percentages and RPE. I think those are both two ways to get to the same number. I think it's sometimes lazy as coaches if they just give an RPE prescription. And if you're just giving a percentage number, I don't know that does a good job as a coach if you tell somebody that you're only looking at them to use exact loads, that you're not able to make any adjustments from day to day. So we're trying to use both. There's going to be some emphasis on you as a lifter being able to interpret what that means and being able to get the most out of the program. So we'll look at day 1, for example. So day 1, we'll look at the high bar squats at the top, or the high bar tempo squats. We can click on that video. We can see the hyperlinked way to perform the lift that shows how to actually perform the tempo squat. In this case, it's the slow eccentric with a little pause and then fast on the way up, emphasizing control and making sure that you're staying on your legs through the whole lift. Now, from week to week, we're saying that this is going to be 85% at an RPE of 7. That doesn't progress through those 3 weeks, but that doesn't mean that you can't add load. What I'm saying is I'm estimating that about 85% of your high bar squat max should get you to an RPE 7 in this variation. That could be very much of an overshoot in the beginning if you stick exactly to what's written, and it could be very easy for some people. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop a standard from week to week so that you know if you're getting better at that exercise and if you're getting stronger overall. it's also a good way for you to see from day to day if you're feeling good or if you're feeling bad, and if the planned progressions that we have on paper are going to be realistic for you or not. So when you're doing that high bar tempo squat, we should be thinking at the 85% is a good ballpark number, and then we're using the RPE 7 at least in this case, to have a good understanding of if you are getting better or not. So following that, if let's say it was spot on, let's say 85% was exactly an RPE 7, then there's a pretty good chance that the written sets behind will be right on their estimated load as well. We can see from week to week that those exercises or those sets on the high bar pause squats are written to get more intense. So general rule of thumb here would be that we want to be a little bit more flexible on top sets to use those as just a metric of how you're performing that day, and try to stay a little bit closer to the loads that are written on the working sets, because in those cases the percentages, the intensity, all of those are progressing from week to week, and it's designed in a way to drive stimulus. So they're intended to get harder from week to week. As long as we're not getting out of position, as long as we're not really moving very poorly through the later end of those sets, I think we should be trying to make those relatively hard when they're written to be hard. So don't feel like you have to pull back as they're getting harder, building up into week 3 right before the deload. Those are intended to provide some overload stimulus. So we want to be more flexible at the top, and then a little bit more rigid and sticking closer to the numbers that are written at the bottom, as long as we see that the daily performance is staying close to what's written on paper. The top set with the 3 count pause bench press is written to get harder every week. That's only going to be true if your performance is getting better at it every week. If you see week 1 that it's just an incredibly hard variation for you, it may be smarter for you to stick with smaller jumps or even the same load as you improve with that variation, so that when we go into the next block, you're actually executing good bench presses instead of you're already behind what's written. You were already struggling through the first 4 weeks, and then we move into the second 4 weeks, things are really sloppy. You're not able to use those progressions the way you should. So use the first 4 weeks to challenge the way that you're executing your lifts. There's going to be tempo variations on bench press and squats, lots of paused variations, those kind of things. If you get through the first 4 weeks and feel like your movement is really good, you'll probably be in a really good position to execute the second 4 weeks and lead into some big PRs. The last thing I want to talk about is that the spreadsheet we're using has some good functionality down at the bottom of it. You can scroll down to the bottom of the page and you can input some data. We can't use variations with these. If I input my tempo squat into my high bar tempo squat into my high bar estimated max, it'll give me a obviously lower number because I used less weight and made it harder. But moving into the second 4 weeks, when we're starting to remove variations, this tool will be more and more useful. As you start adjusting the loads you have on the bar, if you're able to hit weights above what are written as far as the estimated loads, we need to record those, and then it will give you a new adjusted max that will feed into the following week. From there, you can compare what the original estimated max was or the original estimated loads for you were against your new estimated loads. And so in that way, it can give you new suggestions as far as what to put on the bar. Again, the adjusted loads are just suggestions just as much as the original percentages were suggestions, but it can give you a good idea about how much more weight you should be putting on the bar above what's written already. So that'll be a good tool moving into the harder phases and when we're looking to get those 3 rep maxes. So there's definitely going to be some times that you can be aggressive near the end here, but only within reason. Now, the big thing that I wanted everyone to get out of this programming is that they get a good exposure to what my programming really looks like. I've offered some other programs in the past, but they've never used the exact formatting that I use. This is what I use for all of my athletes. If you're a daily coaching client, a weekly coaching client, or I have the club coaching option that just follows my programming, this is exactly what you're going to get. So you're going to get these blocks. Generally, I send them out in 4-week blocks instead of this 8-week block. And then we go through check-ins and we talk about how things are working and we adapt it to you. So if this program works well for you, there's probably a really good chance that you would be able to move into coaching very seamlessly. The other is true too, is that if this doesn't work well for you, then there's probably some adjustments that need to be made, and I'd be happy to talk about those with you. So if you have any questions about what my coaching is like, please fill out the questionnaire that's on the same page as you found this program, and I'll get back to you on that. There's also the option to just jump into the $25 a month club coaching, which, like I said, is exactly like this, except you're just following my programming. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what everybody gets out of this one. I'm excited to see the results. So if you have any quick questions, shoot them over, but I have a lot of people that are going to be getting going with this. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do a lot of structured feedback for people, but I'll probably be making videos based on kind of the summary of the results that people, or the questions that people are giving me. So if you do have questions, let me know, and that'll be interesting for me to see what things maybe are challenging for people with this program. So looking forward to that. Everybody get signed up. We already have over 200 people that are getting going with it. So, it'll be exciting to see what results everybody has. So, as always, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.